Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I made these tokens for helping out in games of Oathmark.
Scruffy Crow.
So I've been absolutely shooting along with my Oathmark army. I've only got another unit and some monsters to finish up now. So despite the fact I've not managed to get a game in, I've been having a good old read through the book. And I've noticed there's probably a good excuse to make some activation tokens, as well as tokens for a few of the spells. So there's a few that caught my eye. Explosive ammunition seems like one I'd probably use. But Stoneheart, for instance, that would be one that could benefit from a token. And there's a few others that I thought maybe make some generic sort of spell effect tokens. Certainly not the first time I'm making tokens for a game. I tend to make custom tokens whenever I think they might be useful. Here are some that I made for Rangers of Shadowdeep. These were clue tokens for the first scenario. So my first step in making something a bit like this is to go to the laptop. Okay, so I'm starting here in paint.net. This is a free program that you can download. I've got a few plugins installed, but I don't think I've used any for this. And I started off when I wanted a background. So I've gone for a little bit of Googling, and I got this runestone background, which I thought would look pretty cool. So the reason why I use paint.net is because of this layering system. As you can see, I've got a lot of layers in here. So yeah, after picking a background, I've then put this sort of vignette sort of effect in. So my tokens I'm going to make are going to be round, but I'm going to create them square just because that's easier. So, and then on top of that, I also added the Oathmark logo, and now that is the basic for my, and so that is the basis for my tokens. So all these other bits I've got here are all the optional extras to add to them. So the first one I wanted to make was the activated token. And I did ask on the Oathmark Facebook page whether people preferred this font, which is called Dashley, and that is the one I use all over my channel, you may have noticed. Or I tried to go something a bit more dwarven, so let's hide that one. I wanted something maybe a bit more dwarven, so I went for this one, which is called Ancient Runes, I believe. And personally I like this one, so I was going to stick with this. And some more of the feedback I got from the Facebook page was they liked colours. So I did make some options with colours, but for me they didn't really work. But I have created something, so I'll show you that in a second. So as I said, activated is going to be my main token. The other one that I thought I definitely needed was going to be disordered. But obviously they do look kind of similar. So I might do something to try and differentiate those, but I'll probably make these ones double-sided, so I'll do a whole bunch of those. Another one I thought useful initially would be Officer Dead, but in hindsight all my units have now got dedicated officers, so that'll be fairly easy to tell. So I probably won't use that one anymore. So yeah, after activated and disordered, I did look at some of the dwarven spells. So Stoneheart, this is just an image I found off Google by just googling Stoneheart. Added some text, very straightforward, and I think that'll make quite a nice token and tells you exactly what it's all about. For other tokens I've decided to make, such as explosive ammunition and gathering of crows, I've decided not to put the text on. I might not use the text on the Stoneheart one actually now to make them match. So for these I'm going to stick with my Oathmark logo, and this is what I came up with for gathering of crows, and I think that'll make quite an effective token, but we'll have to see what it looks in real life when it's printed. And for explosive ammunition, I've just added an explosion in front of and a little one behind, and I think that tells the story pretty nicely. I also had a look into making maybe some generic tokens, so we've a selection of skulls, which could go on there, which could go on their own. So we'll just, if we remove the dagger there, or maybe some hearts to show a positive spell effect maybe. Once again, all of these were found online from various places, mostly just Google image searches maybe came up with these. So once I'd had a mess around and created a bunch of these, I would then go to Word. So yeah, once we're in Word, I'm going to pull in my my image files. So here's a couple that were kind of requested by the Oathmark group. So that's the Activate and Disordered with maybe the slightly more legible font and also coloured. And personally, these maybe aren't the taste I'll go for, but I'm certainly going to see what they look like. The bases I'm going to be using are going to be these 25mm MDF bases, 2mm MDF. So my image sizes need to be a similar size. So these are the bases they're going to go on. So all I do here is I'm going to say I want to alter the size and position, and I want the height. So if these are 2.5 centimeters, I want my pictures to be about 2.6 centimeters. And I find that Word prints fairly accurately. Size and position. And as you can see, I've made these square when I created the original file in paint.net. So I'm definitely going to make a couple of double-sided ones of these. So I'm going to add in all the rest of my files and get them sized correctly. Okay, so this is my initial batch of tokens. So here's the ones just as a tester. Pretty much the whole thing's just a tester. But there's my disordered and activated tokens. So I'm going to do 10 double-sided of those. Put a couple of spares on. And then a couple of crows, 3 double-sided skulls, a couple of stone hearts on both sides, and a couple of explosive ammo. Because they're the spells I can see myself using initially. But I can see myself using these skulls as maybe a generic spell marker until I work out which ones I'm going to use the most. And then obviously we can just do all this again. So I'm going to print that off now. Okay, so the rest of the video is a bit more straightforward. So I've got my bases. And they fit in the squares. So that's good to know that the Word was accurate enough for that. And obviously all we do is we are just going to cut these out. Now the beauty of this is, my method for doing this is that you don't have to be hugely accurate for cutting them out. Just going to take a little tray here, and we're just going to use some regular Builder's PVA. I'm going to start with one side, so I'm going to do both these activated ones, and actually we're going to put these two aside for just now. I'm going to take my PVA, I'm probably just going to use my finger for this, and I'm just going to rub that nicely on the backs. And we want this to soak through a little bit, and then we're just going to lay the bases on. I'm just going to make sure that's nice and central. As you can see, I can sort of gently fold down the edges here just to get the imprint, just so I can see how it's going to look. So I'm fairly happy with that. And I'm also just going to add a little bit of the PVA on the front here, and that should help seal the whole thing together. By preference, I'd use a laser printer for this, which I have access to at work. This is potentially not going to work quite as nicely with an inkjet, because the inks aren't quite as waterproof. I noticed a little bit of running just then, so we'll see how that comes out. Okay, so all my stage 1 tokens are done. I'll be completely leaving this side to dry 100%, so that'll mean at least overnight until they're all completely dry. And then I'll do the other sides, and then I'll wait another night and I'll finish them up. Alright, these have been left here overnight to dry, and as you can see they are nice and dry. The paper's gone all crispy. As you can see, the blue ones, they've not turned out too well. You can't really see the background. It's all ran a little bit. But my black and white ones, they're still looking pretty good. Once again, it'd be better on a laser printer, but that's definitely worked. I think it looks quite nice. So tonight I'm just going to basically just do the exact same as I did before, but on the other sides. Here's all the other sides done. So we'll leave them another sort of 12 to 24 hours to completely dry, and then we'll do the final step. Okay, now for the final part, we're going to move them from these squares to these nice neat little tokens, and we're going to use this emery board. This is the best way I found of doing this and ending up with a nice neat end result. You can do this with a metal file, but I've actually found the emery board works even better. You could just cut around these with a knife or with scissors, but I think this gives a much better result. And it is as simple as this. To the rough side, and I'm just about 45 degrees from the edge of the token, just filing that round. And on the other side. And there we have it. Perfectly trimmed. There's my excess. So that is absolutely dead simple. And as I said, you end up with a perfectly trimmed token every single time. Simple as that. Got this piece all off in one piece. I'm also just using the emery board to file off any joins on the bases. So I'll finish up the rest of these now. I'll come back to you in a second. One thing to note when I'm trimming these is I'm always dragging the same way. So I'm always dragging down away from the centre of my image. So that way any marks that go on the paper are always going away and off the actual token onto the paper we're cutting away. Now one trick I have used before to make these even neater is to get the edge of a Sharpie and just run it around there. And that's where your little paper seam is. And you end up without that sort of kind of white edge. This is definitely something I do with the sort of beer mat material ones. I just run this round. It gives a sort of slightly smarter look. And it means you can get rid of the sort of join marks from where your bases were cut and things like that. However, with these ones, I kind of like that little sort of edging. I think it gives them a bit of a rustic vibe at the moment, actually. So I'm kind of happy with the way they've come out. So even though I designed the tokens so they were black around the outside, specifically to do that technique with, I'm actually quite liking the sort of worn edges. So I'll be keeping these just the way they are. And yeah, and here is the finished product. So there's my activated and disordered tokens, which are double-sided. They become disordered and activated tokens. Got my little explosions, some skulls, and my flock of crows, all of which I think have come out really nicely. If you can use a laser printer, you'll probably get a bit more quality and a bit more life in some of the images, rather than an inkjet. But I think for a little home inkjet, they've come out really nicely, and they're going to be perfectly functional in my games. So all that's left to do is to throw them in my little leather bag with my 5 blue dice and 1 gold one. Ready for my first game of Oathmark. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.